Santos is doing well in his first game as a starter in the G League. Brasileiro was part of the Santa Cruz Warriors' starting lineup for the first time against G League Ignite. Santos showed what he came for and, thus, grabbed the chance in his first game as a starter in the G League. The Brazilian from Santa Cruz Warriors had 13 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists and 2 steals this Sunday, in a match against Ignite. The performance, however, was not enough to avoid defeat for the team of prospects in the Development League. The winger was on the court for 30 minutes and, like the entire team, had his best moment in the first half. He scored 10 points in the opening quarters as the Golden State Warriors affiliate opened an 18-point lead. But, in the second half, the team was dominated and ended up defeated by 125-115. The first performance as a starter was certainly one of Santos' most productive games in the G League. And at the same time, it confirms the 20-year-old's rapid growth in coach Seth Cooper's rotation. However, 2 players considered starters were left out of the setback, center Patrick Baldwin and guard Jerome Robinson. The Brazilian, chosen in the 55th position of the last draft, is working in the Development League in preparation for playing in the NBA. After an excellent performance in the Summer League, he definitely entered Golden State's plans for the future. The Warriors return to the courts next weekend, when they face the South Bay Lakers. Ignite, meanwhile, will be on the court this Monday against Oklahoma City Blue.